All right, let's bring this to order and we will start with the opening prayer.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
Reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, Lord.
The angel Gabriel was sent from God to a town of Galilee called Nazareth, to a virgin betrothed to a man named Joseph of the house of David. And the virgin's name was Mary. Coming to her, he said, "Hail, full of grace, the Lord is with you." But she was greatly troubled at what was said and pondered what sort of greeting this might be. Then the angel said to her, "Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favor with God. Behold, you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you shall name him Jesus. He will be great and will be called Son of the Most High. And the Lord God will give him the throne of David, his father. He will rule over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there will be no end." But Mary said to the angel, "How can this be, since I have no relations with a man?" And the angel said to her in reply, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore, the child to be born will be called Holy, the Son of God. And behold, Elizabeth, your relative, has also conceived a son in her old age. And this is the 6th month for her who was called barren. For nothing will be impossible for God." Mary said, "Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord. May it be done to me according to your word." Then the angel departed from her. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Opening prayer. Lord, we know by faith that these are some of the most important moments of our day. We freely open our minds, hearts, and wills for you to do as you please, because we know you can desire and do only what is good for us. We know that you will give us the grace to do whatever you ask of us, and that you will always accompany us.
Pleasing God through the small daily tasks. The angel Gabriel finds Mary doing nothing extraordinary, but rather doing ordinary tasks like washing clothes, sweeping, getting water, doing the same daily prayer as every devout Jew. But in doing the ordinary, she is doing what is pleasing to God. Her example should be our guide. Work can be an ordinary means of holiness. Man, as Pope St. John Paul II said, not only transforms nature, adapting it to his own needs, but he also achieves fulfillment as a human being, and indeed, in a sense, becomes more of a human being. We please God when we do our duties, fulfill our responsibilities, work to meet our basic needs. While we may not be doing something extraordinary at every moment, we still praise and glorify God when we undertake the ordinary with love. If an angel were coming looking for me, would he find me doing my daily tasks lovingly?
Do not be afraid. Mary was greatly troubled and pondered what sort of greeting this might be. When God presents us with his plan, we too might be afraid. We may not fully understand what he has in mind. It can seem that his plan is too great for us. But when God wants something from us, he shows us that is not beyond our reach. As with Mary at the incarnation, God will make it happen and will provide all the grace necessary for its completion.
May it be done to me according to your word. When Gabriel clarifies Mary's mission and illustrates that with God all things are possible, Mary makes an act of faith. Her act of faith is what the Second Vatican Council terms the obedience of faith. The obedience of faith is to be given to God, who reveals, an obedience by which man commits his whole self freely to God, offering the full submission of intellect and will to God who reveals, and freely assenting to the truth revealed by him. God supplied Mary with his grace and did not abandon her, nor will he abandon us. When we do what God wants and cooperate with his plan, he will support us. He will accompany us as we carry out his will and bring his plan to fulfillment. God's will is our holiness, and when we do his will, we help God to make us saints.
Conversing with Christ. Mary, teach us how to do God's will as you did, so that we can remain in his company. We want to do his will, even though at times we know that it may seem difficult or impossible. Ask your Son for the grace of perseverance for us so that we too may cooperate with the Lord, whether he is asking something of us that is ordinary or extraordinary.
Together, my
Lord Jesus, may our feet journey together, may our hands gather in unity, may our hearts beat in unison, may our souls be in harmony, may our thoughts be as one, may our ears listen to the silence together, may our glances profoundly penetrate each other, may our lips pray together to gain mercy from the eternal Father. Amen.
Nice. Okay, the land acknowledgement.
Before we begin, the Medicine Hat Catholic Board of Education would like to acknowledge that we are gathering on the traditional land of the Blackfoot people who have welcomed here for centuries the Cree, the Métis, other First Nations, and non-Indigenous people. The land is now recognized as the traditional territory of Treaty 7 to the north, west, and south, and Treaty 4 to the east. The Medicine Hat Catholic Board of Education also wishes to thank the First Nations people, past and present, for welcoming us here.
And there's no presentations. So approval of minutes from the public board meeting on November 14th. Somebody
So
can do
moved,
that. Thank you, Bree. And all in favor? Okay. And the public board meeting from the minutes from November 27th. Lady, and all in favor? Okay, approval of the agenda. Any errors or omissions, or are you adding to? If not, can I have someone pass that? Deacon Robert, thank you. All in favor? Okay, board communications, number 8.1, school parish relations. Deacon Robert?
nothing to report.
Okay, and then we'll go on to 8.2, update on school parish activities. Heather?
So that report is attached, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
I like it when, like the school parish thing, it's, I think we're doing so much more in the parish,
I
both
can
ways.
share something. We have a new employee this year who worked at a different division, a smaller division than ours, and she said she can't believe how close we are with the parishes and how supportive the priests are. And it's just really nice to hear that, right?
Yeah. Sometimes when we're in the middle of it, we don't see how good it is, but it is.
We're very lucky.
8.3, opportunity for encounter.
And that is attached as well. Any questions?
Anybody else? Any comments? Questions? All right, we'll go on then. Board work plan, school education plan, Dr. Sergi.
Thank you, Chair. So your trustees click on the link that will take you to our landing page on the website that hosts all of our school plans. And all of them are there with the exception of St. Louis's plan, which we are needing to review
Thanks.
tomorrow
Tomorrow
or Thursday. And then that one will be posted pending.
I haven't looked at them all yet, but I did look at a few of them and they're really good. And I like from our discussion yesterday, Cindy, we did a board and a superintendent evaluation and the lady who was doing it just commented on how well people know what we're doing, how well everybody knows and uses the same language. And that's really nice to hear. And when you go through the school plans, you see that. You see everybody's on track with the strategic plan. I haven't gone through all of them. I think I stopped at St. Francis just because I ran out of time, but they're good. They're really good. I was impressed. Any other comments?
I read through all of them, and it was interesting the difference from one. I mean, they follow an outline, but some really stand out for me. Like they really stand out. Others, I can see areas of growth that is needed, but overall, I think they're really good reports, and it's a really good format. So I'm sure you guys are going over those with them. So, but I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, we'll move on to the infrastructure maintenance renewal plan, Mr. McPherson.
Thank you. So the motion that's being presented to the trustees is be it resolved that the Board of the Trustees for the Medicine Hat Catholic Board of Education approve the 2023-24 IMR plan for $622,835 as presented. This is an annual plan that comes to the trustees. We have just over $1 million available for the IMR grant this year. This plan has $622,000 worth of spending, which includes just about $20,000 on projects which are a continuation from last year. We've also built in two items, $50,000 for an in-year reserve for any emergent needs, as well as $40,000 to cover the insurance deductibles if there's a event or two events that happen throughout the year. The change from last year is the modernization for the St. Mary's change room and washrooms have been removed based on the division consolidation project, as well as the potential classroom conversion of $300,000 at Monsignor McCoy based on the SCSL project has been removed from here. And the effects of this IMR plan will be incorporated into the first quarter financial update. The plan is attached to the report, and I can answer any questions about it now.
Go ahead, Dick.
Thanks, Chair. Greg, with regard to the insurance, can you tell the board what our insurance record is like? Have we had insurance claims, and if so, are they in the property section or a liability claim or in the auto section?
So these two amounts would be in relation to property. Our experience rating with property has been very, very positive. We haven't had many claims. The last major claim was before I started 16 years ago, where there was the destruction of the roof at Mother Teresa School. So that's been the last major property claim. There's been a few minor claims. Our liability experience has been very positive. We've had a few slips and falls, but nothing of substance. And auto claims, it's nothing major.
positive news. Thank you.
Any other comments? Go ahead.
With the, pardon me, please, the card readers, just a little point of information. What happens when a staff member leaves? Do we just deactivate the card? Do we ask them to hand it back in, or
We would ask for the card to come back in, but the process is as soon as the person leaves, we deactivate the card. So, and they're not expensive. So. And this is compared to actually having physical keys, right? Which is one of the reasons why we were in this direction.
I think it's good. I was just curious about that one aspect.
Also, the other advantage is if an employee loses their fob, then we can immediately deactivate that fob as well and not be concerned about
Change laws.
changing laws.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's my experience where somebody was always losing their keys. Okay, any other questions of Greg? We will need someone to move that motion then. Mr. Leahy, thank you. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Okay, passed.
Thank you.
And now, capital maintenance renewal plan, Mr. McPherson.
Thank you. This is comparable to the IMR, except this is from a different pool of funding and can only be spent on approved capital type projects. The motion that is coming to the trustees is be it resolved that the Board of Trustees for the Medicine Hat Catholic Board of Education approve the 23-24 CMR plan for $385,000 as presented. We have $475,000 available for CMR this year, of which we're planning on spending $385,000, which would leave about $90,000 available for future years. And the effects of the CMR plan will be incorporated into the first quarter financial update. The report, the plan itself is attached to my report.
Mr. Leahy?
I'm having trouble with my computer scrolling to it, but I saw something, I think it was Mother Teresa, it said court. What exactly is that?
That was the spending that we had from last year, and that's in relation to the library, where we added the ramp to get down into the library. It's called court. There was a reason for that. Fair enough.
Bernie, did you have your hand up?
No.
Okay, any other questions of Greg? If not, I'll ask somebody to do that motion.
Yeah.
Thank you. And any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to number 10, information items, strategic priority update.
Thank you, Chair. The strategic priorities update is attached. This is the standing item, of course, that is on every board agenda. So the updates have been added and progress dials have been adjusted. I think it's important to note that on our discussion meeting in January, we'll be reviewing the outcome of our discussion we had with our administrators and looking at setting some of the priorities for the jurisdiction for the upcoming year. And the timing of that will work well because that'll help us also in budgeting. So make sure that we're putting money to where we're saying believe that things are important. We should be spending our budget dollars there. So aside from that, I'm prepared to answer any questions that trustees may have.
Anybody have any questions on this? Mr. Leahy?
It's not a question, it's a request for next month. If Dr. Zarechny, as part of his strategic priorities update or wherever he thinks it's prudent on the agenda, to give us an update on the work of our fundraiser for the new school, please.
Okay, anybody else? Yeah, go ahead.
Trustee Leahy, would you want that on a more regular basis, perhaps too, as part, or?
Well, I think once it really gets going, that would be a good idea, but right now I'm just,
Just the where we are?
thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the school traffic assessment. You were not? Okay, it's you.
So we've engaged the services of Taylor Risk Solutions to assess the traffic safety at St. John Paul II, Mother Teresa, St. Patrick's, and Notre Dame Academy. Those schools were selected based on the observations we made around the volume of traffic and the potential risk at those schools. The report is complete. It is attached, well, the 4 reports are attached to my report, and we've developed an implementation plan which is included within my report. Essentially, there are 6 recommendations. One is dealing with the wearing of vests by staff when they are supervising, a relocation of signage in front of the school, the creation of a drop-off zone, a very short-term drop-off zone in front of schools, crosswalk installation at 3 schools, installation of fencing around St. John Paul II School, and a student handbook update to include the policies around parent drop-off at schools. So we are implementing those. We've been in contact with the City of Medicine Hat for the drop-off zone as well as for the crosswalk installation, and we will see how that unfolds.
So who polices that drop-off zone?
Well,
Or
it'll
does
start off.
anybody?
It'll start off as a drop-off zone with a lot of information going out to parents on how to use it, and then we'll have to make decisions on how that's used if it's not being used appropriately. It is supervised usually by staff, so staff will be encouraged presumably to, if they're saying that it's not being used correctly, to have a discussion with the parent. Worst case, we would then ask for police enforcement. Okay. But obviously, we would do that as a graduated response rather than.
Well, hopefully, because everybody's been complaining about it, that they use it according to how we would like it to be used.
Right. Yes.
I noticed on some of those preliminary drawings of the new school, they have a really significant drop-off zone there. It's really like off the road, off the street, and everything is really.
Exactly.
It's too bad we couldn't do that everywhere, but we can't because schools are already there.
That's
But no, I was impressed with this assessment. I thought they did a good job.
great. Thank you.
Anybody else? We don't need anything there, do we?
No,
No.
it's very professional.
Okay, communications report. Mrs. Hallis.
My report is attached. A lot of Christmas concert and advent content this month. The schools are doing a really good job at showcasing their projects and even their bulletin boards and everything revolving around Advent and the true meaning of Christmas. Yeah, that's most of what got going on this month. Preparation for registration.
Any questions? I never looked on here. Do we have when the Christmas concerts are?
I don't have a list compiled, but we can get that for you guys.
I would like one.
Yeah.
Everybody probably would like one, but I would like one.
St. Mary's is tonight at 7. Some of them have passed, or maybe that's only one. Yeah, most of them are next week.
Yeah.
St. Mary's is a bit early. I went today, it was lovely. I went this week, she was actually.
I think I have them too, because I know some of them are using that shared calendar, so those ones I have.
Yeah,
But the other ones I don't.
Yeah.
I don't have. But yeah,
Okay,
well,
well, thank you if you can.
May I take the time during taking time from you to say congratulations to the students and staff at Monsignor McCoy for their recent musical that they put on. I understand it was very good.
It was very good.
I also know that very much like athletics, the people who put on those performances put in a tremendous amount of time after school and off time to put it together. So I just wanted to bring that up.
Thanks.
Samantha did 2 stories on that, so we were grateful for her to
Yes, she did.
cover that as well. Yeah.
I was able to go on Monday night and it was very good. There was some issues with sound at the college. And I said, oh, I have a solution. Why don't we build a state-of-the-art theater?
What's your solution?
And it was readily accepted. Anyway, let's get on here. I like it. Okay, action and discussion items. New school name. Dr. Switch, we will need a motion on that one.
I will. Yeah, thank you, Chair. So in accordance with our admin procedure for naming facilities, a committee was struck to provide the board with a recommendation for the name of our new school, which is being built to replace the St. Francis, St. Mary's, and St. Michael's schools. And so after working through a process, the recommended name for the new school is Holy Trinity Academy. This name has already been forwarded to Bishop McGrath for his feedback, and he indicated to Heather that there wasn't any issues with the name. And so a motion is required by the board to officially name the school, and the recommended motion is that the Board of Trustees for the Medicine Hat Catholic Board of Education approve the name Holy Trinity Academy for the new school. So
We'd like to move
entertain-
I will move
Mr.
that.
Mestel?
I have a couple of questions
Okay.
to Dwayne. How many people were on the selection committee? And can you tell me what other names were being considered?
You have to give me a second to use my fingers to count all the participants that were there. I believe there was 8 or 9 of us on the committee. That included school administrators, Chair Glasgow was there, and some central office staff as well. Other names were included All Saints School was one, St. Teresa's Academy.
Teresa with an H, St.
Teresa
Teresa,
with
yeah.
an H was another one. Holy Cross or Christ the Redeemer.
Christ the King.
Christ
Christ the King, sorry.
St. John
Where
Bosco.
are our options?
St. John Bosco.
What's St. John
There was
Bosco?
probably about 12 or so.
Yeah,
So
St.
the-
Francis of Assisi.
So then we used what's called a democracy. So everybody was given a number of stickers. We went through a process where they whittled down to the final choice.
Well, I'm in favor of the name, I think, from the options that you had given. I like that one the best. I have a question, or maybe to our communications department. I would like to see the division make some kind of a deal, an event about naming the school, or an official naming of the school. It's not an official opening, of course, but something that we do that attracts some attention, that is going to be media worthy, and that we can make some kind of a splash, some kind of an event. I know that Darian will promote this through her department. I'm thinking of something that's beyond that is a little more public. I don't know what format that would take. That's not my department. But I would float that as an idea.
So thank you, Trustee Mestel. One of the things also that, and it'll come up in my other update on the building committee, is that we're hoping to have in January a set of drawings that we can share publicly. And so we'd like to coordinate all of that information going out so that we start gathering feedback. And also have a name for the project as well. So I believe we're thinking along the same lines. Thank you.
Part of that Holy Trinity was the 3 schools coming together, and 3 windows and 3, you know, that sort of was behind that whole thought.
It seems to fit well.
Okay, so we would need the motion passed.
Mr. Mastel's made the motion, we just.
Oh, right, we just need to.
Question.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Thank you. All right, the next one is Notre Dame Sports Academy fees.
Thank you. So the motion in front of the trustees is be it resolved that the Board of Trustees for the Medicine Hat Catholic Board of Education approve the 24-25 Notre Dame Academy Sports Academy fees, where hockey is $1,300 per school year, and the other academies are at $1,100 per school year. The principal of Notre Dame Academy has requested an increase to the fees for the upcoming year, with the increased cost for rentals as well as busing costs, in addition to just general operating costs of the academy having increased significantly. This would allow for the programs to continue to offer their excellent programming. So the current fees for baseball, softball, soccer, golf, and volleyball basketball are at $950, which would be increasing to $1,100. Hockey currently is at $1,100 and would go to $1,300.
Is this can they pay monthly or do they have to put it all out?
My understanding is the school does allow for a monthly payment process. However, I think they're trying to streamline that because of the fees associated with it.
Mr. Leahy, you had a question?
I don't know, are we gonna make the motion?
No, I have some comments, I guess. I think, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the fees, I think it's an exorbitant cost. I think it puts it out of reach for a lot of families, and there's, you know, I was thinking about it. I mean, there's always the option not to put your kid in the academy. But I'm curious, how are our fees compared to other schools that have academies? Are they comparable? Have we looked at that?
If we were to compare our hockey program to the Prairie Rose Hockey program, like their U18 program, they're paying like upwards of $17,000 a year. So
17,000, correct? And how do you rate the programs? Are they comparable?
no, one's an actual hockey team.
Yeah.
Is training. But that gives the differentiation between the two.
Well, then I don't think it's comparable, but I'm not being critical of that comparison. But I'm just concerned. I mean, I'm going to support the motion, but I'm just concerned where the prices, you know, I mean, everything's getting expensive, right? And I know a lot of families are struggling. And again, you don't have to have your child in a program either, but I'm concerned.
The one thing to note is the price of busing for example, 4 or 5 years ago, it was about $55 a trip.
Yeah.
It's now at $120 a trip. So
Yeah.
and that's like a daily activity. The ice rental as well as the rental of the other facilities has escalated dramatically as well. And I'm not saying it's not valid.
Yeah.
But at some point in time, if we don't continue to collect fees based on the actual cost of the program, then the quality of the program could become affected.
Yeah.
Okay, David, and then Bernie, and then
I'm just curious why this was coming to us now as opposed to, is it January where we regularly approve the fees?
That is correct. The principal of the school asked that we get it in as soon as possible, but to allow for programming decisions to be made for the upcoming year, as well as ensure that when questions start coming in as part of the registration process, parents know very precisely what the fees are.
And I know this won't answer, and I appreciate what Deacon Robert is saying, and I know this won't answer all those concerns, but perhaps we should, when I say we, administration in the school should consider its messaging about the fee forgiveness option that we have in this district. You know, where depending on circumstances, your child can still be in the program. I know some parents are very reluctant to do that. They're embarrassed or whatever, but that is an option, and perhaps it's a case of letting people know about that option out there, because we don't want to have any kid not taking an academy, be it fine arts, golf, whatever, because money is an issue. That's not what we're about. We do have a policy to tackle those kinds of things.
AP 505 is very clear on the fee waiver process.
Yeah.
And we'll remind the school of
Bernie?
I'm good now. Sure,
Okay.
thank you.
Wayne?
I just quickly looked up a couple of schools. Red Deer Public is $1,050 per semester. And
This is per year, right?
St. Albert Public Schools it's liquid is $2,000 for their fee.
Another fee to check, so what do they call it, the William Desert?
Desjardins, that's money stuff.
No, but there's another thing, like there's Hockey Academy at Parkside, there's a Hockey Academy in Oyen, there's a Hockey Academy in Irvine, there's a Hockey Academy in Foremost. I don't know what those kids are on a charge. That might be a good comparator.
Have they ever, I suppose they thought of fundraiser sorts of things like 50/50s or whatever. Can we do that? Can we still do that?
You do. But I think in talking with the principal of the school, it's just the cost of busing, fuel, and ice rental. It's just, it's got.
I think Neil also mentioned, principal also mentioned in our meeting that this is the first fee increase they've had in the history of Notre Dame. So these fees have been stagnant for coming on 20 years.
the hockey fees.
The hockey fees were increased a few years ago. Others have never gone up.
Okay, we need someone to pass this. Bernie? Moved it, and all in favor? Okay, 11.3 Notre Dame Academy budget adjustment.
Thank you. There is a request for the school to use $5,000 from the Sports Academy accumulated operating surplus. The motion is be it resolved that the Board of Trustees for the Medicine Catholic Board of Education approve the increase to the Notre Dame Academy budget by $5,000 from the Notre Dame Academy Sports Academy accumulated operating surplus. The purpose for the request is that money would be used for the repairs and improvements of the Notre Dame Academy batting cages, which is used predominantly by the Sports Academy itself.
But that money's already there.
It's in the reserve, and as part of the board policy, in order to get money from the reserve, you need to apply.
Okay, can somebody move that motion? Mr. Mastel, any discussion or questions on that?
I have a question.
Okay.
What's their surplus?
It's about $90,000 in. So there's enough funds to.
Any other questions?
They also do have a plan to spend quickly at the chunk of that money on repairs and so on. So it's not a slush fund, that's just part of
Yeah.
it. Because that was one of our questions that we had for them as well.
Go
I
ahead.
have another question, and it might refer to our last motion. The AP that you mentioned about fee forgiveness. What's, like, how does that read? Like, is there a, like, how much can we, where does the money come from for fee forgiveness? Does it come, like, where does that money come from?
It doesn't come from anywhere. The school then works with the parent based on an application through the AP 505. And then based on the circumstances, the principal would work with the parent to either go for a partial fee waiver or a full fee waiver.
Yeah, so
there are no funds that are transferred based on the fee waiver. It's just foregone funds.
but if you're waiving a fee, there's a cost that you're incurring.
Yes.
So where is that money coming from that's incurring that cost?
It would have to come from
the
rest of the fees.
From their accumulated surplus?
It could, or from the other fees from the students within the year. We would leave that up to the school-based administrator to make that decision.
Thank you.
David?
Like when I was the principal at St. Mary's with the academy, I have an academy budget. And then depending on how many fees we waived, I might have to go back in and cut some things. You know, like, okay, instead of, I was throwing out, instead of 15 reads, Mr. Schmidt, we're gonna get 25 reads for the Wednesday.
So you just adjust your program? Thank you.
Okay, sorry, David.
To go back to the previous item, have we ever, or is there any kind of merit to thinking about contracting out field trip service? Like, you know, what was it, 150 a day?
120.
120 a trip? And I don't know how many trips we take or what that is, you know, is there merit to contracting that out?
I've worked with Southland to come up with a bulk purchase, and their result was exactly the same price. There was no bulk discounts. So they weren't interested in pursuing that. As we look at the future of Southland, future RFPs may look at building that in as part of our RFP process. I'm not entirely sure how that would work and how you would hold a fee to the buyer, but
Yeah,
that's something we could look at.
I'd be interested to know, like, how many field trips are we taking during the year? I'm sorry to, like, average per day. I know some schools in the province own their own buses. I know one school in town here owns their own bus. As a result, they're able to save quite a bit of money when their teams go to tournaments and stuff like that. You know, there's insurance and all that kind of stuff too, but I appreciate the struggles schools are facing. It's an important part of the education program to go on field trips and to be facing this price pitch is disconcerting.
When we look at that, the driver requirements that are new now, the requirements about safety inspections on buses, a lot of that coming from the Humboldt experience. In addition to the hours of service. So
Yeah.
yes, teachers are driving these buses, but there's limits on when they become duty bound on how far they can drive. So there's complexities that we haven't seen 10 years ago.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like in the old days, you had a converted school bus, you had a teacher with a class 4 and we went class 1, I'm sorry. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we need someone to move this motion. Mr. Leahy, any other discussion? All in favor? And 11.4, religious education budget adjustment. Mr. McPherson.
So along the same lines as the last one, religious education is requesting access to the $11,000, which are from the earmarked international education surplus. As part of the board policy, because that's built in as the reserve, we need to get board approval to move that from the reserve into the religious education budget. So the motion is be it resolved that the Board of Trustees for the Medicine Hat Catholic Board of Education approve the increase in the religious education budget of $11,000 from the International Education Reserve previously designated for religious education.
I would move that.
Okay, any discussion on that? Mr. Leahy?
Much like Deacon Robert asked about the previous item, what's the size of the reserve?
The number of $42,000 comes to mind. I don't have the numbers right in front of me.
That's okay, that sounds familiar, and that's just for the religious ed portion of that?
That's just for the religious ed portion, correct? If you, just 1 second, I can get the exact numbers.
Mr. Kent?
Just as a point of clarification, Chair, for myself. So we had previously designated half the funds that were profit
Yeah.
from international education to go to religious ed. And so we're suggesting that it's from that amount that we're removing this. Okay, thank you.
So the precise numbers on August 31st, the religious education component from the international ed program is just about $42,000. And for the SCSL reserve is $11,000.
Okay, any other questions on this 11,000?
If we were splitting that money 50-50, why is one so much higher than the other? Sorry?
Last year, you approved $80,000 to go from the SCSL fund into the special needs
Okay,
budget, and then there was use of the religious ed budget last year.
Can we pull some money out of there for the windows? Stained glass windows?
We would, yes, that'll be coming out as well, but it's a phased payment, so that it'll be coming out through the rest of this year.
so the money that's profited from the international ed program this year, 23-24, it has yet to be put into those two funds?
That's correct. So we would still be seeing the current year numbers, but we won't know those precise numbers until the end.
I agree, because you don't know who's going to show up in January, even though you have a ballpark figure, but I understand.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Thank you.
All right, committee reports. ATA negotiations, Mr. Mascow?
Nothing to report, Chair.
QP,
Nothing to report.
Teacher Board Advisory, Mr. Kinch.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So we had a meeting recently. The minutes of the meeting are attached. And as I stated in our meeting yesterday, I want to say this in a public meeting, that I was very impressed with our superintendent in terms of how he dealt with and held the questions delivered from the Teacher Board Advisory Committee. And I think the teachers, as they left, they were very pleased with the answers they received, and it was a very good meeting.
Thank you. Support staff.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I had a question about something, and I apologize. I don't know why my computer is doing this today.
A question for Mr. Kinch.
From the minutes. There was a thing there that I didn't, people were asking about it, and I thought that I should have known about it. it was some kind of program. Some teachers had to do it and some teachers didn't have to do it. Oh, Parabyte. What's Parabyte training?
Parabyte training is an online PD for our learning assistants. And so if you're a teacher and you have a learning assistant in your classroom, you're doing it with your learning assistant to have a discussion around the training. And then if you don't have a learning assistant, either the LSTs are doing it during a staff meeting or at an alternate time with groups of teachers. But to my knowledge, everyone is participating in it in some format, but it might look differently.
How long does it take?
Each module is about 20 minutes, and then there's 11 or 12 modules.
And then through the chair to trustee Kitch, can you, and Dr. Zerchny, on item number 10, it talked about time to do ISPs, some teachers having more ISPs, time to do them during school-directed PD, and then it talked about the difference from elementary to junior high to large school versus small school. One comment I wanted to make as a former principal of a small school, i.e. St. Louis. St. Louis had a lot of IPPs. So just because it's a small school doesn't necessarily mean, there's that difference. So, thank you.
Any other questions or anything else you would like to add, Mr. Finch? Support Staff Board Advisory Committee. Deacon Roberts?
There's no report submitted, but Nick and I met with support staff have a subcommittee that deals with matters related to conditions of employment. So we met with them, the 4 members of that committee, just to discuss. They requested a meeting just for information. So we were able to give them the terms of reference for that committee, and so we met just in regards to that. You want to add anything?
I would just say I was very encouraged by that meeting. I think they're really looking to do some good things. That committee and the subcommittee as well. I'm part of that group right now.
Good, thank you. 12.5, QP Support Staff Advisory. Mr. Lady?
Just that there's a memo attached, Madam Chair.
Any questions? Student Board Advisory Committee. Nick and I met with the St. Mary's kids. Who was what, 10 there?
Yeah.
10 kids. And we asked them, well, Nick asked them a bunch of questions, but they were really receptive to us being interested in them. And they had lots of good things to add about what they would like to see at the new school, and they were excited about that. Nick, do you want to take it away?
I could give an accolade, I think, to you and the work that he's doing in schools. One thing that came up, and I think you would concur with me, but one thing that came up loud and clear was access to supports. At that school, they felt, I thought it was very interesting to.
Every one of them.
Every one of them
Not
talked
just-
about
yeah.
seeing a counselor, having access to supports. The hub came up numerous times in what a wonderful space it is. So, accolade to you and the group that facilitate those things. It's not going unnoticed by our students. Those are the things that could. And that I have a lot of knowledge of that group of students that we met with. And that was a really representative group of students from that building. And they all had positive things to say about this. Well, that's great.
That was one of the, when I asked, what would you like to see at the new school? Like, what would you like to take with you? That was the first thing, was the hub.
Yeah.
Like, bring the hub. They feel safe there. They just feel safe. I don't know how else to say it. So that was really good. It was a really good meeting. I was really happy with it. Okay, audit committee. We're gonna let the big boss talk.
Oh, there isn't much here. We're still looking for 2 public members to be appointed to the audit committee. So we will be, that'll be one of the work plans for the audit committee.
a hard one to do. I tried, but any takers?
We'll find someone.
New school project. Dr. Sricky?
Thank you, Chair. This item will be renamed for the next meeting to the Holy Trinity Academy project or update. We did meet last Thursday with folks from Alberta Infrastructure and Alberta Education. Once again, a relatively short meeting. The preliminary design was once again shared. They did add the football change room component to the back of the building, and they did move the spaces around as we discussed, putting a dance studio beside the theater and so on, and moving the library to the other side of the common area. As a consequence of all that, the common area has shrunk a little bit, and additionally, they've added in things like washroom spaces and so on. So we did ask if we could share those drawings. They indicated they prefer not yet. However, recognizing that we need to start working with our community members and the students and staff that will be working there. So they indicated that they would have drawings for us for January, that we would be able to start reaching out to the folks that are impacted by the school for their input, and we can start making some recommended adjustments to the way of the building. From there, they also indicated that after January, that we most likely would move to meeting once a month. So we'll be stepping into the budget process, so they won't be able to happen with the project until it's formally approved by the government.
I would just add to that how good David Cox is to work with. He just seems to take everything that you want him to take and incorporate it somewhere. So, David?
I am getting older, so please forgive my memory. Dr. Zrinchny, have you had an opportunity to brief this group on the meeting that was held with Big League Baseball and what seems to be the path forward? Did the board hear that?
I think the information was shared in the weekly update.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Okay, ASBA, Mr. Mastel, zone 6.
Thank you, Chair. Our last meeting was on November 14th. And again, much of the information that was given at that time is by now very old news. President Marilyn in her report reported that they had a meeting with Brian Jean, who I believe is Energy Minister. Is that?
I'm not sure what ministry he has.
I think he's Energy Minister. At any rate, there were discussions with him regarding energy costs for schools. And there was also discussion about utilities and insurance as well. President Marilyn attended the CAS conference. Vice President Schaller reported that there would be changes at the FGM, updates with regard to the rules, which of course has happened already, and that she announced there that the Premier and the Education Minister would also be attending, and that there would again be an MLA's breakfast. As a side note, at the MLA breakfast, well, in fact, through the course of the meeting, we were at the same table as Red Deer Catholic, and the Red Deer Catholic people, their MLA is Adriana. So we had Adriana at our table for breakfast that morning, and had a chance to visit with her for a short time. And of course, as you know, Adriana was the previous education minister. Schaller reported there was lots of discussion regarding education and the carbon tax in the throne speech, which both Marilyn and Shally were invited to. There was some discussion regarding the PAT exams and the diploma exams, and the discussion was was concerning because they were talking about the very strict rules that are applying now with regard to the digital nature of these exams. The message that came from the people involved there was that there was very little flexibility, and there was concerns that some schools may not have the proper hardware in their school to facilitate those. And there was also some discussion regarding bandwidth that would be an issue, coupled with the fact that there was no flexibility. Now, I think, Chair, was it a deputy minister who spoke at the ASBA? And one of the questions that was asked was regarding these tests, and he had a completely different slant on this. He seemed to think and said that there was flexibility. We talked briefly with our deputy chief, and he doesn't think. Well, I'll let you speak. I don't think there's going to be an issue for us in our division with regard to these tests.
So at this time, I don't think there will be. We're working with IT. They're aware of the requirements for the delivery of those exams and are working at having the available units. They're having hiccups in the past, like printing and those kinds of things that they're working through right now and having secured devices, but I think we'll be able to accommodate them right now.
Thank you.
Alberta Education has come up with a new platform that the assessments are on. And so this year they're piloting that platform. And once they get all of the bugs worked out of it, that'll be the system used for PhDs and diplomas. And so once that happens, that should result in a lot more security of the exams with the students. The difficulty that happened before is that there were exam keys that were accessed by students, and the answers were shared provisionally last year. And so this new platform should eliminate those issues because there would be any exam keys, one available, and two students will only have access to it the moment that they log in. And then once they're out of the system, they're out of it again. So once that happens, then the window of writing should be a lot more flexible because they won't be concerned with the security of the assessment.
No wonder we scored so high. We had the answer key.
That's how rumors started.
There were the concerns that we had were removed from our scores.
I have nothing else to report, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. ACSTA. One thing I want people to keep in mind and put on their calendars if they're interested is in February, on the 9th and 10th of February, there's going to be a symposium in Edmonton on the permeation of faith into schools, into curriculum, and the forming of missionary disciples as for our teachers. So I'm really excited about this. Dean Zarnicki is the guy who's sort of the head of this committee and is doing a really good job. He's got some excellent speakers, so yeah. Anyway, that's all I have to say there. Education Foundation, Mr. Kinch.
Thank you, Chair. We met on the 21st of November. A couple things that were discussed was one, the golf tourney is scheduled for June 7th, 2024. There was a little bit of concern about decreasing numbers and danger of cancellation being canceled, and that the golf course may set a quota of a number higher than we actually receive participants. But as of this point, we're going forward. Second thing is we are vacant 2 directors' positions and are looking for volunteers to this committee. So if anybody knows of anyone, please pass your name along.
Okay, thank you. Parent Association, it's me. The last report is on there. I don't really have anything else to say. It's just always a very positive meeting, and a good place to be. The parent association throughout the district, I think, is still kind of trying to get people to come out to parent meetings, which is a difficult thing across the board. Like even if we have a meeting, it's hard to get people out, but they're trying to rectify that. Okay, 13 teacher employee TIBA, Mr. Mestop.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Two meetings to report on. The one was the AGM, which followed the ACSDA meeting in Edmonton a couple of weeks ago. Very short meeting. They presented a budget, and there was a brief discussion regarding local bargaining items and central bargaining items. Locals can ask for things to be placed on the local table, and the test as to whether it'll go to the central table are two. One, is there a significant cost to that item? If there is, it will go to the central table. And the second test is, does it impact more than one board? So if the item affects more than one board, it can go to the central table. It was also announced that Tammy Hinkle, and I don't remember what board she's from, I think it's one of the northern boards, is the new vice chair of TIBA. She replaces Terry Harris from Edmonton Catholic, who stepped aside. Terry is still on the board, but he's not chair anymore, or vice chair anymore. The regular TIBA engagement meeting took place last week, and there are a couple of things there that I want to mention. There's a bargaining survey out that shows a decrease in the TIBA budget, and it comes from two areas. One is a reduction in legal fees that were encountered, and second was the reduction in arbitration costs. There is a new trustee from Edmonton Public, and I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. There's also a bargaining survey that has been circulated that is attractive, that gathers valuable information. And at this point, there are 6 boards who haven't replied. I'm not sure I want to go there.
I was just going to say, have you done the survey?
Anyway, I'm glad to hear we've recorded, and the others, the 6 boards who haven't are going to be gently reminded. Craig said that that will be happening in the new year. With regard to negotiations, at this point, there are 46 tables that are done. Rocky View has authorized a strike vote. And one of the things that is coming up on some boards for negotiation, and this is really kind of curious, and that is compensation for teachers or school staff whose personal property is damaged. So if you have your cell phone at work and it's damaged, there could well be protection for you under the collective agreement for personal property. And that also extends to your car. So some kid kicks in your fender, you can get compensation through the collective agreement. Or somebody vandalizes your car in the parking lot while you're at Costco, and you report it as a claim on your collective agreement. There's discussion there, and of course, the discussion centered on the kinds of abuses that could take place with that kind of an item. So that's just something to be aware of. That's a request that is being made by some locals to be discussed at their local table. The other thing that was talked about was Bill 5. Now I know that Dwayne included a description of that and some details in his weekly update. But Dwayne, if I could ask you to give us a brief description of what Bill 5 is really about. I'm not exactly clear-eyed as to what is involved with that bill.
So, sorry, go ahead. So Bill 5 is something that's on the proposal. It's gone through first reading, hasn't completed second reading at this point. It essentially, depending on how you read it, gives the minister special abilities to direct boards on how compensation to non-bargaining staff can occur. So under PBCO, they can direct the bargaining side, just like we saw with our teachers union as well as our custodian union. But those directives technically don't affect non-bargaining staff. Bill 5 does give the minister power then to direct how we may compensate non-bargaining staff. So that's the issue that we're seeing with that piece of legislation.
Thank you. I have no other things to report, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to the closing prayer. St. Francis Xavier School prayer. Okay, we are adjourned.
Merry Christmas.